What's up, everybody? It's Dark Side with Vital MX. Got a very special guest on the line with me. We're going to check in with the one and only Jordan Jarvis. What's up, Jordan?
What's up with you guys? How are you doing?
Doing good. It's been a little while. I actually saw you at Lakewood, but it's been a little while since we had you on the show, the Moto X Pod show. It has been a while. Yeah, so let's get checked in with you a little bit. I want to go back to 2021. You were with SGB Honda for a little bit. How did that come up? How did that come about? And how was Arace?
Arace's Arace. I mean, if you know him, that's the best way you can describe him.
Yeah, he's a nut, man. He's funny.
He is definitely a nut. That's for sure. So I actually partnered up with Jason a couple of years ago. Before I turned pro, I was doing 1 year of the All-Star, the 125 All-Star races.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I had a bike stolen from me that I was planning to use. So we kind of panicked. We found a bike and didn't have any suspension for it. And Jason stepped forward and helped us out. And our relationship kind of built from there. No, it was awesome while it lasted. That's for sure.
Well, let's jump ahead to the current year, 2022. You're working with the ROTE race team. You got signed up with them. You did Daytona Supercross, I believe. Tell us a little bit about that team and how that came together.
I actually got a message on Facebook, just after Minios.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of thought it was bullshit. He was offering a lot, and I'd never heard of the team or anything like that. It just kind of sounded too good to be true, honestly.
Right.
And we started talking to him and found out he was completely legit. And honestly, it's been great so far. The bike that I have is by far the fastest bike I think I've ever had.
Let's go back then to the Daytona Supercross. Talk about that. That was the first Supercross you made in, right?
That was my first Supercross ever. I've done, futures or Monster Cup in the amateur ranks and stuff like that, but that was my first ever pro Supercross.
Well, tell us about the weekend and how it went, how you felt, how the bike was. I mean, that's a pretty cool experience. It's a big deal.
It was a very huge deal. It's been a while since a female has tried to race Supercross. Going into it, I unfortunately didn't have as much time as I had hoped on Supercross. Things kind of just didn't fall the way we'd hoped. Bikes are tough to get and everything like that. So I probably only had maybe 2 weeks of Supercross time going into it. So I was really unprepared. But I was relying on my past, arena cross and futures and stuff like that to kind of help me out. And it did. But the whole weekend itself was unbelievable. I was lucky enough that I got to do press day, and I've been very open about it. It scared the ever living shit out of me.
Yeah, I get that.
I mean, I really, like I said, I didn't have that much time on Supercross. And then I went out there with, Jet Lawrence and McAdoo and, all those guys who were busting out triples and quads and stuff like that on the second lap, and I'm still trying to figure out where the track's going.
Yeah. It's that's a lot to take in at one time.
Oh yeah, and you watch these guys practice, and I've raced against them in outdoors and stuff like that. But Supercross is a whole nother animal, and let me just tell you, they're very good at what they do. I know they make it look easy on TV, but they are very good.
Was there a point in the weekend where you started to feel comfortable? I mean, I know you don't get a lot of time. The press day probably was a huge bonus to have a little bit of track time before Saturday. But did you get comfortable?
By far, probably the best thing that could have happened that weekend. I mean, I was pretty scared, nervous, I guess. More so than anything, I was probably more nervous. But, it kind of comes with the territory, new, former racing, stuff like that. But it helped me out so much because by the end of you get 2 practices in press day. Mm-hmm. And by the end of the second practice, I kind of just said, screw it. I'm going to jump everything that I think I can jump and just hope for the best. So by the time we got out there on our actual race day on Saturday, and I was in my group, I think it was C. I think they had 3 groups. I was super comfortable compared to what I was. I mean, those guys were more my speed.
Yeah.
So I was a lot more comfortable, and I really think that helped me, kind of find my way through those practices.
So do you feel like you learned a lot that day, and now you probably find somewhere to ride some Supercross before 23?
I definitely think so. I mean, you can prepare for it all you want, right, but until you really go out there and do it, you really don't know. I mean, like I said, I've rode my fair share of Supercross tracks across the country, California, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But it's hard to explain, but it's not the same thing that you race on. The layouts are built different. Jumps and stuff are kind of, the lip is a little bit different than what you were maybe used to. Stuff like that. And Daytona's, some say easier, some say harder, because of the kind of style they lay it out to be. But no, I really think that gave me a good insight of what to expect for 2023. Nationals,
though. We're in Nationals right now. I think in your career you've made like 8 Nationals, if I'm not mistaken. This year, Paula and Lakewood, you got in as an alternate. I know Lakewood, you were so close, had a little mechanical thing during the LCQ. Just kind of talk about, going into this year, Lakewood, Paula, I think Hangtown, you were sick, if I'm not mistaken, but what do you feel like you need to work on? What do you need to get to that next step to get in every time?
I unfortunately haven't made it in quite as many times as you said.
Okay.
I've made it directly. Well, I won't say directly. I made it into 2 complete races and several motos, which sucks because there was quite a few times in years past that I've been super close. But this year I'm definitely qualifying better, at least this previous 2 rounds I am. Yeah, Colorado really kind of sucked. I was riding really well. I felt super good on the bike. And a little slight issue in the LCQ. My the bolt that holds my clutch lever onto my clutch perch actually ended up falling out. So I didn't have a clutch for the last lap and a half.
Can we blame that on Dad?
Well, yes and not really, but kind of.
Poor
that
guy.
was the weekend they flipped the practices around.
That's right. So yes, they did.
I was last practice because they had me in B practice. Came off the track, had probably about 15 minutes because when we come off the track, or like when the final group comes off the track, there's already the first LCQ is already going up to the line. So there's really not a lot of time. And my dad went to put some fuel in it when I came off, and the fuel actually ended up boiling out of my bike, like just sprayed out when he took the gas cap off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was wild. So he had to run it over to a power washer and try and get it to cool down a little bit before he could put more fuel in it. And unfortunately, there just wasn't enough time. But it's always one of those things where it's like you do, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Like,
yeah.
If he would have checked that, it would have been something else.
Right. I was just joking. Your dad is such a big part of your program and like one of the most supportive parents I've ever met.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's just stuff happens sometimes. It sucks, but I rode well, and that's what we're taking out of that weekend.
Okay, I'm gonna make a statement or a comment, and I hope this doesn't come off chauvinistic or sexist. I apologize if it does. When I see you out, I still have that mentality. It's like, damn, this girl's fast. Like, I should be like, that's just a fast rider, right? But I guess mentally I do kind of go, wow, she's really fast for a girl. And that's probably offensive, and I apologize for that. When I see you huck the uphill triple at Lakewood, I'm like, holy crap. And I guess it shouldn't be any more impressive than the guys. You were right. You were all over Stank Dog in that LCQ, and everybody knows how good Stank is. Again, I hope it's not offensive, but it impresses me, and I sorry if it's offensive. I'm trying to give you a compliment, but it probably doesn't sound. It probably doesn't sound that way.
No. You're good. No, it's not offensive at all. I mean, yeah, I'm a girl, but I'm also a rider, like you said, so either really works for me. But you'd be surprised at how many people do say, "Oh, you're good for a girl," or something like that. And unfortunately, it kind of goes the same way with certain sponsors as well. I reach out to see if possible sponsorship inquiries and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, I completely understand where they're coming from, but they'll go, "Well, you're doing fantastic for a girl. Like, you're doing phenomenal."
Yeah.
But unfortunately, you're not doing well for men, like not necessarily doing well for the men's standards, but like they're not looking at the fact that I'm a woman in a men's pro class. They're looking at numbers.
Yeah. And
it makes it super difficult. And a lot of people, I've heard it so much throughout my career. People are like, "Oh, you have this many sponsors, or you have this specific sponsor because you are a girl."
It's such a weird topic, because you go, okay, on one hand, you want to be treated equally, but then also, well, there's probably a market for that where they say, "Look, she is probably the fastest woman rider, maybe in the world, almost certainly in the United States." There should be sponsors should be jumping all over that and marketing that towards women. Like,
I agree with you. I do think it's very odd. And if you look a couple years before me, probably 5 or 10, when Patterson was into it, and
Ashley,
Ashley, yeah, all them. They had commercials and all this kind of stuff. You just kind of don't see that anymore.
Do you think that's just the state of women's moto in general? Is at that time, that was probably the peak of it. The peak was definitely Jessica and Ashley. They were racing on Saturday. Factory Honda was, supporting Ashley. Yeah, the commercials. But right now, like, there's not even a women's national class anymore. Like, it's gone. You used to, at least, even if you got to race on Sunday or Friday back in the day, at least you were there. Now there's nothing.
Yeah, me and my dad, well, I guess I should probably not include myself in that. It was mostly my dad. We tried to get some sort of women's pro class back, and we thought we had it.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought we were going to be able to have it for this year, but unfortunately things didn't go the way they were supposed to, and it didn't end up happening. But unfortunately, there's some important people in the sport that really don't want to see women's racing go to the nationals. I found that odd.
I think you're definitely capable of getting into these nationals. You just, again, starts a few little things, and you're going to start making a bunch of them, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, coming into the season, we obviously have expectations of where I should be, and obviously where I want to be and stuff like that. But I really haven't been able to ride that much. So coming into it, we were kind of like, "Wow, this kind of sucks." Like, just being realistic. Like, I can do a 35-minute moto all day long. That's never really been my issue. But the guys are obviously very quick. So we had our expectations, but we kind of thought I was going to fall a little short of it this year. And I've actually done better than we'd hoped.
That's good.
So yeah, hopefully I can keep it going. I hope I have a good weekend this weekend. I normally struggle at Redbud, but like I said, my bike's way better than I've had in past years. Yeah. So I'm gonna say the bike is part of it, but it's mostly me. But yeah, so I'm definitely excited for these next few rounds to see if I can keep it going. I qualified 43rd at Lakewood, and then I qualified 44th at High Point.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like 80 250 riders. So that was definitely a huge confidence boost on my end, knowing that I could qualify pretty well considering it was High Point. That's always one of the most tough ones on the East Coast because it's the first one.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, that definitely gave me a good confidence boost. I really just want to see if I can bring that into Redbud.
Good to hear. Let me ask you, you've teamed up with Collective Experience, I believe, and Dave Drakes. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, talk about that. Dave's a rad dude.
He is awesome. I actually met him through Jason. oh gosh, it had to have been probably 2 years ago or something like that. I was still doing futures. Yeah, he's been phenomenal. He helped me out with some film guys last year. He's planning to help me out some more this year, and it makes a huge difference. The program is awesome. You know, you sign up for it and you legitimately get to see the behind the scenes stuff that most people don't see.
It is the collective experience, the collectivexp.com. That's the website if you want to check it out and support that. You can go sign up for a fee. You can, I believe, be like Jordan's mechanic or be different. You can pick riders, privateer riders in Supercross, like Adam Entenap in the past has been a part of it. And I think AJ Catanzaro might have been in the past. And you can go, you can sign up and like work with the team, basically hands-on with these riders. And it's really, really cool. Kind of see what it's like in the day of the life of a professional motocross, Supercross rider.
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, I've been around the sport pretty much my whole life. So I've always gotten the privilege to, you know, kind of know everything and see everything. But for some of these kids, it's awesome. I mean, I think it's like, oh boy, there's a mechanic. Unfortunately, that spot's filled. I don't think my dad's going to give that one up.
That's true.
I'm always looking for someone to come out and help me film, but there's also like, it's like a support person or something, like someone to clean helmets and stuff like that. But, yeah. And the passes that we set aside for those people get you in the pits all day. And, you know, you pretty much have free access of the pits, and you can see all the riders and stuff like that. It's awesome.
A couple more things before I let you go. You got a new website with merch up right now, right? That's relatively new.
I'm still working on a website.
Okay.
But I do have some merch up, and I want to get some more stuff thrown up there if I can pull together some more cash to do it. Honestly, the shirts have been doing fairly well. I have shirts, hats, and beanies and stuff like that. But yeah, I'd love to get some more merch up there. I got some cool ideas that I think would look pretty cool. But yeah, I just gotta get my my time figured out and get a website and get that all sorted out.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time. I understand that. Can people find that merch through your Instagram?
Oh yeah, and I normally bring a good bit of stuff with me to each national as well.
Oh, cool. So yeah, if you guys don't follow her, you need to. It's JJJordan30 on Instagram.
Yep.
So yeah, hit her up. Support the privateers. Support the best female rider in the world right now. Gotta get that support out there. All right. Well, Jordan, man, it's really, really great talking to you. It's been a while. I need to get you back on the podcast as well. Let's get you on the podcast after Millville.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, hey, thanks so much for having some time for us. Really appreciate talking to you. It's always fun watching you ride and getting to visit with you.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was awesome.
Absolutely, Jordan. You have a good evening, and we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you. You too.
No problem. Bye. All right. That was Jordan Jarvis for Vital MX. I'm Darkside. That's it.